Welcome to the DNX podcast. My name is Sylvia Chrisman, and I am your host, and I'm here today with my friend Nyla Rogers, who is the founder of a nonprofit called Mama Hope that builds ecosystems for women around the world. And she recently launched a campaign called Satoshi is Female. Hi, Nyla. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm so grateful that you could make the time to be here with me today. We spent a lot of time together last week at Crypto Week, where we really actively worked on the campaign Satoshi is Female, and I would love to share with our listeners here a little bit more about that.
Yes, so basically this kind of came out of doing 12 years of work with social entrepreneurs across the world. So basically Mama Hope takes resources and turns it into impact. So we fund schools, water projects, health clinics, women's banks with funding from mainly Western countries to communities throughout Africa, India, Guatemala, and the US. And what I saw with the crypto world was all of a sudden people were making money out of thin air. And the valuation was creating these overnight millionaires. And so in this space, we launched Crypto for a Cause. And Crypto for a Cause raised $60,000 in Bitcoin very quickly. We took that money, we turned it into a boys' dormitory in Tanzania. And I just was like, how can we make sure that these new currencies are seen as currencies of generosity from the very beginning? We already have, money and cash as a way to build all these different things. But what if we took these new currencies and we really use them to fill the gaps that are not being taken care of by governments and by people across the world? And so that was kind of what Crypto for a Cause was. And that launched me into the crypto world.
That's amazing. And so Satoshi is Female. What does that mean to you?
So when I launched Crypto for a Cause, I started to get invited to speak at various events. And most of the time, I was the only woman, and I was on stage with mainly white men. And as I dived deep into the founding of Bitcoin and blockchain, I learned about the unknown person, the mythical character Satoshi, who founded this technology. And what I saw is that the technology has all of these feminine aspects. It's collaborative, it's inclusive, it's community driven. And I just thought, just thinking that this is a man is unfair because this looks like a woman wrote it. And so beyond the fact of is this a man or a woman, I wanted to say this new technology is female and we need to treat it as such. And so I launched Satoshi is Female to just start that conversation of like, if we're moving away from a patriarchy, could blockchain be our way to do it?
Right. It's amazing. So why do you think blockchain can be a great equalizer?
Well, I think that it is coming to us at a very interesting time in history where the industries have been so male dominated in the past, and we have been having to continue to build within a certain system. And what I think is beautiful about blockchain and having been a woman in the space is all of the women who are coming out of various sectors to figure out how they can build on this new technology. So artists and humanitarians and people from government who are saying, the current system is actually not valuing all people as much as it could. How can we make sure that we are part of the architecting of a new system and make sure that it is inclusive and it is collaborative from the very beginning? So I get very excited about that, especially working in poor communities throughout the world and in emerging markets and seeing how this will be adopted so quickly.
Yeah. So we were together a lot last week, and I was wearing one of your shirts during Crypto Week here in New York City, and it was really interesting to see the dialogue that it opened up. What do you think was the biggest takeaway that you got from last week from the conference and the talks that you gave and the response you saw to the t-shirts and the campaign?
Well, I printed equal men and women shirts. And after I spoke at 4 different events. I would sell the shirts, and the men were the ones that were really wanting to support this cause. And I think it just gave them a chance to show their support of a new system and their ability to make sure that we have parity as we move forward. And I would ask the men, like, why are you buying this shirt? And they would say, because I really do believe that women are going to be the ones who help us change our world. And I want to make sure that that happens. And so not only did we like sell the shirts, we actually went and asked everyone why they believe Satoshi is female. And we took pictures of hundreds of people wearing the shirts, kind of to create a Humans of Crypto campaign to say, these are all the people that believe that this is a new system. And this is why they believe it's female. And I got so many beautiful comments. And I feel like this kind of campaign can be some of the things that start to heal the wounds that have been created in Silicon Valley between men and women, and this divide of kind of the tech space being mainly focused on men, and like really from the very beginning making sure that women are included, and not only included but are like the innovators of this technology. And so watching men and women wear the shirt throughout Blockchain Week in New York, everywhere, at every single conference, and then seeing the community it created, especially when men saw each other wearing the shirt, was the thing that made me the happiest.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think I was witness to so many conversations between men that ordinarily I'm used to leading. That, I just got to witness a dialogue I didn't think would take place, not out in the open to that degree. And that got me really excited about the future that is to come through this movement and in general through blockchain.
Yes, I mean, the goal for the movement overall is that we flip the 1% to empower a different 100 million people to build an inclusive, collaborative, and community-driven future. And so when you wear the shirt, you say that you're believing in this diverse world with power with instead of power over. And it's a real statement about the fact that you are committed to building that. And so when men would see each other wearing the shirt, I think they just knew like, that's someone I could possibly work with. They have the same values as me. And in this space where really sometimes we just see a sea of people who all look the same and dress the same, like being able to have that moment of like, oh, that person might think a little bit differently. How can I work with them or relate with them or have something in common with them? It just started to create that kind of feeling of community that I think was missing from the crypto community.
Yeah, I agree. And I saw it also impacting people outside the crypto community. I remember that I had an investor friend in town from London who, literally asked me if there was a way to get a shirt like this and if I even knew where they came from because he wanted it to before leaving town because he wanted to be part of the dialogue of the conversation.
I love it.
And that to me was mind blowing,
Well, the thing that's really beautiful about this shirt is I originally wanted to say Satoshi is a woman, and I wanted to kind of wear it in protest. And I was talking with my husband about it, and he said, I think it should say Satoshi is a female. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, why don't we just do Satoshi as female? And the reason he said that is he was like, that's a little aggressive. Like really the world that you're really wanting to be part of and help create is one where we're healing it together as men and women. And the way to do that is to start conversation that is inclusive from the beginning. So that makes me really happy to hear that even people outside of the sector are starting to think about what does that new world look like for them, wherever they're at. Like, because I do think, as men and women, we have been pitted against each other, especially in the last 2 years. And I really want that to lift. I really want us to figure out how we're best supporting one another.
Yeah. I think one thing that just stood out you said was, it used to be way more aggressive. And I think that we as women had to be more aggressive to be heard. And the dialogue is changing, that it's inclusive, that it's open, and it has a completely different degree of kindness and interest in each other in it. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree. I think that I really think as millennials that our generation really do deeply love one another in a way that hasn't been expressed. And we do have a deep respect for one another. And, I'm really talking about heterosexual men and heterosexual women at this point, because that's just my point of view. And that for me has been the main contrast that I've been experiencing. But I think in general, there's like a lot of love that's been masked by a lot of fear over the last couple of years. And now I feel like it's kind of like that shade is being lifted, and we're able to be like, well, what is the world we want to build? Because we're going to be taking it over very soon. And it doesn't have to reflect the world that, the baby boomers built or the people in front of us are building. Like right now, like what does the future look like? And I really think that we are moving towards a very positive place, especially with movements like this helping guide the conversation in new industries, because I think we're going to see a lot of new industries come up, and we have to make sure that we're building them within new systems that are taking the ideas of diversity and inclusion and collaboration at the heart of them as they get built.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. The dialogue has changed so much, and it feels so inclusive that people are, able to ask questions they would have ordinarily never dared to ask. And it almost feels that there's a natural occurrence of a dialogue that wasn't allowed before.
Yeah. And I think that so many of the men I know are such beautiful, wonderful souls that feel very called to support women in a different way, and they just don't know how. Mm-hmm. And I think this shirt is a very easy way for them just to say, we're with you, mm-hmm. and to not have to be completely dramatic about it. The goal of this campaign is not just to have a new slogan out there. The goal is that we are raising money to support women and children all over the world to be able to become part of this conversation. And so what I love about it is it's not just kind of a movement, but it's also, there's going to be real true impact that comes out of it. And what I want to see is that we start to see people in the communities in Tanzania that we support being part of this conversation. And as I said, being the innovators behind this new technology, because they have so much to offer, because there's an urgency to create new systems. And that's one of the things that I really talk to men about, is like, there's an urgency for women and people from emerging markets to create a new system, because the current system does not value them in the way that they really could. Mm. And so I really want to see that happen. I want us to talk about value differently. Like, as we're creating new currencies, and currencies are really about value, like at this time when we can infuse human values onto these currencies, how do we look at humans differently and make sure that we're doing things to make sure that they're protected, that they're heard, and that this new technology really helps guide it.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit more about how Mama Hope really ties into the campaign with Satoshi is Female.
Well, Mama Hope has been focused on providing basic resources for the last 12 years to communities throughout the world. We have 134 projects in 9 countries. And one of the ways that we have provided basic resources like schools, water projects, health clinics, is we have also funded businesses to fund those projects. So eventually our partners not only become sustainable, they become independent. And one of my favorite stories is one of our partners, James, in Tanzania. When I met him, he was being evicted from a school that he rented. And now he has the 5th best school in the region. He has all of these businesses that help fund the school. And last year he had a $65,000 profit that he used to invest in another education entrepreneur like himself, but also to build preschools. And I feel like that should be the goal of charity. I actually think that it should not be anti-poverty. It should be pro-prosperity. So in this new world where we are really focusing on how do we create prosperous communities throughout the world and access to new technology, I want to make sure that it is the poor communities who really have the urgency to create this new technology to build it. And I know I've said that a lot, but I just think there's so much to learn from communities across the world who never got on landlines and are looking at solar energy first and are actually living in a much more futuristic way than we are here in the West. And so with the funds, I'm looking to fund hackathons with some, of the women's microfinance groups that we have to really hear from them, like, how would you use this new technology? I want to look for people that have created their own incubators in the communities that we've supported, so that we're not only looking at basic resources, we're also looking at how do you create opportunity. And I call that building ecosystems of prosperity. So you have the basic resources like food, water, shelter, but then you also have the opportunity to be able to build, to create, to have a prosperous life, all built into one system.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So if people wanted to find you, how would they go about this? If they wanted to join this campaign, how can they get involved?
Well, they can go to satoshiisfemale.com, and there you can purchase a t-shirt, and the funds from that t-shirt will go to support the movement and support projects throughout the world, to empower people to be part of this new technology and also just have access to the knowledge behind it so that they can be the creators. And also, if they want to learn more about Mama Hope, they can go to mamahope.org. What I love is to see people who already have the t-shirts put pictures up and tag at Satoshi is female, so that we can see, as it grows throughout the world, all the people and why they believe Satoshi is female, so that we can create a real conversation about what does this new technology look like, how is it going to help guide a new system, and how can we do it together.
Yeah. What is the one thing that excites you the most about the future?
That we are in a place right now where I believe anyone is going to be able to be the change maker. And I don't think that was true in the past. I think that the way that the systems were created, it really made it impossible for people to rise to the top. But I really do believe over the next 5 years, with campaigns like this and all of these other incredible people coming out for the rights of people in general to just have a voice, I think that we're going to see some new models of leadership that are going to really change our world and open our hearts and unite us. And everyone is going to be part of it.
Yeah, I agree. If you had to recall one conversation from last week that impacted you the most, what was it?
I loved speaking with a man who told me that the reason why he was buying a Satoshi is female shirt is because he wanted his daughters to know that the future was female, and that he believed in that, and that he wanted to represent that to them. And they were very young. They were like 3 and 4 years old. And he just wanted to be a representation to other dads and men that you set the example of what is possible in the world. And that made me really excited to think about this new generation of dads who are out there and really championing for the rights of women, and doing it with a lot of love and intention from the very beginning, and setting that tone to their young girls to know that they're going to be the architects of the future.
Oh, that made me so emotional just listening to it. Yeah, I agree. God, yeah. There were so many conversations I witnessed or heard where I just really thought, wow, there's so many things I no longer have to explain to you from my perspective because you already know, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've been on a soapbox a lot. And I'm even finding that with the men that I feel like I have to say all these things. And then now I'm realizing, like, okay, you can just listen now and figure out how to work together.
Yeah. What do you think the relationship is to the hashtag #MeToo, hashtag Time's Up initiatives that have been around? Yeah.
I just think this is kind of an answer. And that was actually something that was told to me by a man when I originally launched this. It was in Puerto Rico, and I was walking back from a talk, and this man came up to me. He said, Satoshi is female is an answer to Me Too and Time's Up, because it's when a man wears it, he's saying that he's ready and wants to be part of a world of parity. And like, thank you for creating something that allows me to say that without having to say it, and I think that there is this feeling for, what I've heard from my male friends is like, we don't know when we're allowed to jump in and really start talking about how do we support you without feeling like it's not the right time. But this is a very subtle way to just show your support.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nyla, for making the time to talk to us. Our time's already up, and thank you for sharing your insights. I know that people listening to this are going to try to find you. We're going to post all the links on how to get in touch with you, Mama Hope, and be part of the Satoshi is Female project and campaign below this podcast. Again, thank you so much for sharing your ideas, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Sylvia. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Before I leave you, I want to invite you into my world. Join us at the DNX Festival in September in Lisbon. If you go to our website and use the promo code podcast50, you get an extra 50 euros off your ticket. And subscribe to this channel and leave us a review if you can. We will review these frequently, and you can leave us a question that we will answer live online. Until next time.